completion of Dal Manutha. And all God's people said, amen. Turn to your neighbor this morning and say, neighbor, neighbor, oh neighbor, oh neighbor. This morning, our pastor wants to preach about a call to ministry in a new location. You may be seated. A call to ministry in a new location. I want to also thank publicly on the record Reverend White for an outstanding job he did on Wednesday nights in Bible class. Amen. Let's give him a hand. It's awesome to know that there are capable and able men ready to teach the Word of God. So thank you, Reverend. New beginnings. I stand before you today to prepare us for a new ministry initiative. As we stand on the eve of our 1-year anniversary, God is calling us as a church to serve in a new location in the city. This call entails us ministering to a different type of people. All right. The research indicates in the 93706 area code, I believe, there is 35,000 folk that live in that portion of Fresno. All right. The highest percentage of people living in that group are individuals from the ages of 21 and 29. There are something like 11,000 Anglos, 9,000 African Americans, something like 12 or 13,000 or 14,000 Hispanics, something like 0.8% of Hawaiians and Asians, and together it is a new demographic that God wants to have a work done in the city. It's a new ministry location. It's going to call for new wine and new wineskins. Are you with me here? And so our text today is right on time because we can learn some things from this ministry opportunity that Jesus had and how this relates to our current assignment as followers of Jesus Christ. The thing I've noticed in this text, Brother Murphy, is that this new ministry assignment is going to demand our attention to detail. Amen. It's going to demand our attention to service, commitment, and collaboration in order for God to use us at the level that He wants to use us in. Okay. Today's text is a good example of how to do ministry in a new location using everything that we got. Amen. If you're listening, say amen. Amen. The background of our text, Sister Nia suggests that the Master is back in the region of Galilee. He's just come down from northern Tyre and Sidon, where he's been ministering to non-Jewish people. You remember several weeks ago I talked to you about the woman whose daughter was devil-possessed, right? And Jesus went up there and he ministered to her, and even though she wasn't a Jew, she suggested that the dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs. And then on last week, I began to share with you how, as he came down south on his way toward Jerusalem, he stopped at a place that was called Gadara, where he had once cast out a legion of demons out of a man. Remember that? And there was a fella there who was dumb, who was mute and couldn't talk. He was a Gentile. And Jesus healed him and ministered to him. Well, now that he's still in this region, the Bible says that he goes down by the Sea of Galilee one more time, and a new multitude gathers around him. Can I park the car right there and just waddle right here for a minute? Yes, sir. This multitude is a non-Jewish multitude. This crowd is not the same crowd that was around him in Mark chapter 6 when he fed 5,000 with 2 fish and a few loaves. This is a Gentile crowd, and it's 7,000 of them. Are you with me here? Y'all know what Gentiles are, don't you? They're non-Jewish believers. Can I waddle right here? They're minorities that were not Jewish. And there are some things that now they have gotten the word that Jesus has started ministering to the Gentiles, and as he was way up in Tyre and Sidon, now he's coming south. And on last week you heard how he tried to tell that man, don't tell nobody, but he couldn't keep it to himself. He had a case of I can't help it. You remember that? And as he's been running and spreading and telling the word, now there's a multitude so big that they're hanging with Jesus, and Jesus wants to minister to them. Let me give you 3 points, and I'm going to get out of your way this morning, all right? Number one, I'm going to talk about the master's compassion, or the compassion of the master. Number two, I'm going to talk about the concern of the master. Number three, I want to wrestle with the curiosity of the disciples. And then number four, I want to close with the command of the master, or the master's command. The concern of the master, the compassion of the master, the curiosity of the disciples, and the command of the master. Y'all gonna help me work this morning? Right. Look with me in verse number 1. The Bible says, in those days. That's real powerful when you read a statement like that. It's implying that those times were different than times before. Are you with me here? In those days, the multitude being very great and having nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples to him and said to them, I have compassion on the multitude because they have now continued with me 3 days and they have nothing to eat. Yeah. The very first observation of this text for us family this morning reveals that there is a crowd, but she is another crowd. It's not the same one as I mentioned in Mark 6. At the first feeding, this crowd looks different. Their hair is different. Their mannerisms are different. Their cultures are different. But they yet have access to God. That's right. See, these people were a great multitude. There were more of them than there were at the last gathering. But nevertheless, they were drawn to Jesus because Jesus had made himself accessible unto them. I like this right here because it literally is implying that Jesus is trying to reach all cultures with the good news of Jesus Christ. The second thing I see in this particular one verse is that they were also what you call as a needy crowd. Say needy crowd. Needy crowd. They had nothing to eat. They needed their physical needs met by Jesus. But in spite of them being a needy crowd, they came to Jesus in spite of what they didn't have. Can I turn the lights on right there? They didn't let the fact that they didn't have money, or the fact that they were not Jewish, or the fact that they were not a privileged crowd stop them from coming to Jesus. That's right. Like that. They had no excuses for why they couldn't come. And just check this out. Jesus said, they have been with me for 3 days. So in other words, not only were they a needy crowd and didn't let those things stop them, they were willing to hang with Jesus. They had time for Jesus. They were not in a rush to get a blessing and to run on. They hung out for 3 days, 72 hours. Dinner after dinner went by. Lunch after lunch went by. Breakfast after breakfast went by. They did not move. They stayed in the wilderness with Jesus for 72 hours. They were waiting for someone like him to come along all their life. And when he came, they was not ready out of need to jump ship. They were so in love with the Messiah that they just camped there. I like this about this crowd because I believe Jesus' compassion comes out of the fact that they didn't just show up and leave. Notice what he says, I have compassion on them. Why? Because they have been with me for 3 days. First time we ever see that in the gospel. A multitude of crowd hanging out with Jesus that long. Usually you read from sun up to sundown, but they have sunset and sunrise.